Hi, happy summer morning. It is super hot and only getting hotter today. So I have all of my sun protection on this morning. And what we're doing today is we are harvesting onions and carrots today. The onions, I don't know if you can see, but the onions have fallen over. And that's the sign that they are ready to harvest. So when your onions kind of flop over and start to turn brown, that's when you know it's time to start lifting them. So what we're gonna do is, it still works, okay? Don't judge. I have my handy dandy claw tool and we're gonna use it like a fork, and we're just gonna gently pry the onions out of the ground. And then you take them and lay them in the sun where they can cure for about a week and dry out really good. All the green from the leaves should go down into the bulb during that time and really swell your bulb. Make sure all the good flavor and nutrition is in the bulb. And then you can either braid them to hang up and store if you have a cool, dry area, or you can chop the dead leaves off and store just the bulbs, again, in a cool, dry place. Now, last year I braided my onions, which was really cool, and they lasted for a little while, but I think our garage was too humid, and so they started to shrivel up, and basically they just kind of turned into dust. So what I will probably end up doing is chopping most of these, dicing them up, putting them in freezer bags, and then I will have my pre-chopped onions ready whenever I'm ready to cook with them. And then that way I don't have to worry about losing part of my harvest due to drying up. All right, we're gonna get busy. Hey everyone, this is a continuation of the carrot and onion video I started yesterday that got completely derailed. One, it was so hot my phone just decided it was going to turn off because it overheated, and so that was the end of that. Later on in the day, well, let me tell you this first because it's kind of funny. So I like to watch British gardening shows. They're a lot of fun. But I get dirt envy and garden envy when I watch those shows. So the other day I was watching one of them, and the lady's like, "Oh look, a volunteer potato plant. I had nothing to do with it. Let's dig it up and see if I get a potato harvest." And lo and behold, she gets like a whole bucket full of potatoes. And in my yard, I get a lot of volunteer fire ant hills. So like every time I'm rooting around in my garden, I'm like, "Oh look, another fire ant nest. Let's dig it up and see if we get a harvest." No harvest. But I got one. It must have bit me right on a nerve yesterday while I was pulling weeds out from around my corn. And my whole arm like has swollen up. And I'm taking a break from some of the work I was doing today because my thumb is like tingling and numb. So I'm taking a break, and we need to talk about these carrots and onions. So I am so pleased. I pulled up some carrots yesterday and we got just a ton of fabulous looking carrots. I am really pleased with this French variety. So we will definitely, they're called Nantes fingers. We will definitely be planting these again. I had also planted a rainbow variety, but this is the one white one I got, and I guess I pulled up a couple other ones, but they were so scrawny you wouldn't even be able to eat them. But I mean, this was the best one I got, and it's like green at the top, something nibbled on it. So I don't totally love these. And then I also only got one purple carrot, and something had eaten on it too. And so we fed those to the chickens. But these orange non-taste carrots, I mean, most of them, because I have real heavy soil, we laugh, me and my daughter, because they like to grow legs. And that's just because they found a rock and they're trying to split and go around it, or some other kind of obstacle. So lesson learned, if you want really straight carrots, make sure you have loose soil, nothing too heavy. A lot of mine just kind of compacted down into clay. I had repurposed basically forest soil from behind our shed, which was just broken down leaves from probably 20 years of decomposing leaves. So it was great dirt. I think it's got a lot of nutrition in it, but it does get kind of heavy. So my carrots maybe are not doing as great as I'd like them to. They keep doing wonky things, but I'm really pleased. I mean, I got a whole mountain of them. I'll show you my harvest basket when we get done. But let's talk about the onions. I'm also super pleased with these onions. When onions start to flop over and their necks break, that's when you know they're about ready to harvest. But what I didn't know until recently is that you should leave them there until the leaves on them start to brown. That's when you know the energy is going down into the bulbs. So at that point, the bulbs will swell and you'll get a bigger onion. So when the necks break and the leaves fall over, resist the urge to dig them up right away. Mine were still pretty small when that happened, and I was pretty disappointed with how my onion harvest was going to turn out. But I left them in the ground for another 2 weeks, mostly by accident, and my onions got so much bigger. So let me show you. I'm so excited about the size of these things. So my yellow onions did the best. Some of my onions, I don't really know why, but they split, and now I have 2 onions, which I don't really care. I think they'll still be fine. But yeah, so I'm really, really pleased. Oh, this one was really fun. Look how big this white onion is. I'm so excited. I planted a variety of purple, white, and yellow sweet onions to see what would do well in my yard and what would like my growing zone better. I'm looking through here. I don't have any huge red ones, so I'm thinking maybe the red onions don't do as well. Like, that's about as big as they got. But they're still gonna taste delicious. Like I said a little while ago, you want to dry them out in a single layer for about a week after you harvest them. If you can get airflow underneath them, so like if you have like an extra window screen or some kind of shelf that has holes in the bottom for ventilation to allow the air to circulate around them, that's gonna cure your onion and make it shelf stable. And then your harvest should last for several months. The other alternative is after you dry them out, you can braid them, and that'll allow air circulation around them and should keep them, but I think my garage was too humid. So this year I'm gonna dice a bunch of them just because I'm still a newbie. I'm gonna put them in my freezer, and then that guarantees I get to keep my harvest. Hi. Now let's talk about when onions bloom, as well as carrots, because I learned this. So here's an example of a yellow onion that bolted. So what that means is it developed, and I'll show you this, it's dried out, but it developed a flower at the top. First of all, you can eat the flowers. They are delicious. They're like a very light onion flavor. I saw on an Irish gardening show where they snipped it off, they sauteed it in some olive oil, and then served it over fish. I tried it and it was absolutely delicious. So if your onions bolt, don't lose heart. You can cook the flowers, and then just go ahead and pull that onion and use it. Don't let it sit in the ground. And here's why. your onion is not going to develop, after it flowers, it's not going to develop a bulb. I've noticed they just develop really long necks. The bulbs are small. And then when you cut into them, they have like these hard layers in between some of the onion layers that you have to like pull out in order to get a usable part of the onion. So you don't really want them to bolt if you want a really big bulb onion. See the difference? This happened to several of my onions. And so that's what it does when it flowers. I didn't really know what the big deal was, but that is the big deal. Now we learned something new about carrots this year too. Carrots! If carrots flower, first of all, they make a beautiful cut flower, so they're not a complete loss if you like to grow flowers. They are very similar to Queen Anne's lace. In fact, Queen Anne's lace is called cow parsley. It is also a carrot. It's in the carrot family. But if they flower, the root will actually become very woody and you will not be able to eat them. Ask me how I know. We tried to cook some up, and when I cut into them, they had done the same thing as the onions, where there was like a really tough layer in the middle that was almost like bark. And so you could peel off the edible parts of the carrot around it, and then if you cut in the middle, if you cut it open, there was like maybe some edible pieces in the middle. But once it's bloomed, like it's gonna start turning into like a true root, like completely inedible. So those are some things to note about carrots and onions, and I will show you how much we harvested yesterday. I'm really thrilled.
And when they're like
what? Oh, when they're squishy, they're juicy. That's right. When they're soft and tender, that's when you want to eat them. Did you have a carrot today, straight out of the garden basket?
Yeah.
Two. And how did it taste?
Good.
Very carroty, huh? Yeah, the flavor on these is really strong, so it is not your supermarket carrot. They're just fabulous. Here is how much we harvested yesterday. So all of these are onions, red, yellow, and white. And like this one was one that bloomed, so we'll see what it's like.
And this carrot grew legs.
You gotta hold it down. So,
this
yeah.
carrot grew legs.
A lot of our carrots grew legs, but this whole side of the basket.
A lot of these carrots like to dance and walk. They're trying to grow legs all the time.
Are they gonna walk out of our garden?
Yeah, it seems like it once you pull them. So, this one's pretty squishy.
So what should people do about the legs on their carrots?
I don't know. Eat them.
Eat them. That's right. Every part of the carrot is edible. So yeah, look how many carrots we've got. We've got to take them in and wash them and
so many
eat them up.
Carrots in here.
Mm-hmm.
They're yummy.
Yeah. And if you guys can hear all the flapping going on in the background, we are trying to break a broody hen. So she has to hang out with us now until she quits living in the nesting box. Say hello to everyone.
Hi.
The last thing I'll show you before we jump off is the disease management I'm doing today on my irises. So previously I'd shown you how, because we got so much rain this spring, my irises actually developed a fungus, like an iris leaf spot. It's a mold basically, and it infected all of my irises. And so I am finally getting around to cleaning them up, and what that means is I'm taking all of the dead leaves off. I'm clearing out all of the shriveled up leaves on the ground and pulling them all out, exposing the bulbs, and then cutting off any of the green leaves that have spot on them. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna burn it. don't put this in your compost because it will just basically incubate, and then wherever you put your compost, it will then affect those plants. So you don't want to spread this fungus in your garden. You want to just toss it on the burn heap or your fire pit or whatever and just burn it up and get rid of it. That's a method that gardeners have been using for years and years and years. I mean, it's pretty wasteful to throw it in the trash, so don't just throw it in your garbage can. We can just return it to ash, and then it can be returned to your dirt and all that good stuff. So you just continue nature's cycle if you burn it and break it all down, and then you can reuse it. All right, I'll show you that. So here's my irises that I'm working on. You can see before over here with all of the dead, and then, oh yes, you want to present it. Here it is, and then show them the cleaned up patch. There we go, yeah. So over here, I'm trying to trim off all the leaves that have spots on them, and I'll zoom in so you guys can see what this looks like. So irises love hot weather.
Like this.
Yeah. Those spots. Yep, and it starts to kill the leaf from the tip, and it will work its way all the way down
the stem.
Yep.
Like down.
It can get into the tubers eventually, your iris tubers, in which case then it'll just start rotting your tubers. So you really don't want that to happen. You want to catch it early, but I'm super lazy and I just have not been on top of it. So I am hoping that once I clear all this out, cut off all the dead and the spotted leaves, that it will send up new healthy leaves and rejuvenate itself. But yeah, irises love hot, dry weather and baking sun, and this spring was just way too wet. We got tons and tons of rain, and it was a long spring.
I have to just water them up close and stuff.
Yeah.
Down near the roots to keep the leaves from getting wet. They don't like that. Their leaves get wet.
Yeah.
Kills them.
It kills them. If they get too much water, it's not good news, is it? Nope. So that is what I'm doing to remedy that.
It looks like it is this.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's starting to rain.
And in fact, it's starting to rain. Now, we haven't had rain in, how long do you think?
I don't know.
3 weeks?
Probably.
Yeah, at least 3 weeks. And so
We've had rain about all day today. It's been so mucky and stuff.
Yeah. So this rain is actually a good thing, isn't it? Yeah. But here's my pile, and when I get finished clearing all this out, I'm going to take this to our fire pit and throw it in, and then next time we have a fire, we'll burn it all up. Okay, that's all we have today.
Bye.
Hey everyone, I am sitting here putting together my gardening video, and I realized that I really needed to add a little tagline info update on the carrots that we harvested, because I learned something super fascinating about carrots I had no idea about. So carrots are a cold weather crop. They do best in cold temperatures. If you wait until it is hot outside to harvest your carrots like I did, they're going to taste extremely bitter. So we tried to cook up our carrots and eat them, and they were so bitter we just couldn't. We took like 2 bites and that was all we could tolerate. I found out why. Because in colder temperatures, just like kale, it brings out the sugars in the plant. In the roots, it develops the sugars, and then that balances out the carrot, the chemical that gives carrots its signature carrot flavor. Well, that chemical is actually a bitter flavor. So without the sugars to balance it out, then all you're left with is just carrot taste. So harvest your carrots in the spring. If you plant them in the fall, harvest them in the spring before it gets hot. Otherwise, you can grow them for beautiful flowers. They're a lot like Queen Anne's lace. So I've been using them in bouquets and stuff, and that's been great, but they do not taste great. So I just wanted to share that cool little fact that I learned. So I'll be planting carrots. It's fine to start them in warm weather, and then maybe you get like a early winter harvest, possibly even leave them until they get big and harvest them in the spring. But I just realized that I should share that little factoid. Like, don't grow these all summer and then be thinking you're gonna harvest them in August or July, especially here in Texas where temperatures are over 100 degrees, and then expect them to taste good. They taste terrible.